Welcome to 2004's undisputed king of horror RPGs as we finally become cool enough to sit with the goth kids. Join me, John Vampire, as we bite, boil the blood of our enemies from within, and resist the explicit allure of sin lurking around every corner of Hollywood, and rise through the ranks from poser to prince, featuring bat-flavored blood Hadoukens, my Uncle Steve, and the reanimated corpse of Ronald Reagan. First things first, there are a dozen vampire clans to choose from, like CJ San Andreas, Steve Buscemi, and the Furries. I chose Quiet Kid from the back of the class and specialize in dropping blood bombs, hacking computers, and of course, the pinnacle of Eastern death arts, the katana. We wake up in our apartment after a night of fangy bitey hanky panky, and my companion and I are immediately captured by Mr. X from Resident Evil and Mike Tyson. We awake on stage, and Napoleon Kissachart is giving a speech about how we can't just bang willy-nilly without informing the rest of the polycule, and my partner's sentence is to be ashed. I escape, and ex-pirate and crystallized deodorant user Smiling Jack shows me the ropes of the afterlife. Mr. X owns some scrub vampires, and finally we get to beautiful beachside Santa Monica. Our first mission on behalf of the mayo-covered Muppet is to meet up with a man named Mercurio. We also get a love letter, and personally, I'm excited to be the object of someone's affection. I encounter this bum outside, and this will be the first of many times I tolerate the closeness of lesser beings to slake my thirst. Nearby, a bloodied man crawls into an apartment building, and that seems like an invitation for a second breakfast, and who am I to say no to living out my fantasy dreams of being a chill hobbit in a cozy cottage in the forest in this afterlife, so naturally I just walk into the place. Inside, it turns out the bleeding man is Mercurio, here after getting jumped while he was explosive shopping across town. You can't trust Walmart security now, and you couldn't trust it back in 2004. It turns out that a gang of beach-dwelling hooligans jacked it, and he asks that I get it back, and I'm like, alright, but you owe me second breakfast. I make my way to the beach, where a group of Australians have gathered on the sand, as if they had just floated in on the tide. I make my way up to the crack house and spam Bloodbat Hadouken and beat the men inside to death with a tire iron. Absolutely brutal, and I'm getting this feeling that I might be the bad guy here. I mean, while I'm searching for the goods, I find these guys insulin needles and their chemistry set. These poor disabled nerds stood no chance. They even had a weight set. It's clear they were all about self-improvement, and now I feel bad. Anyway, I get back to Mercurio, and he's still bloody and ravaged, and one of his eyeballs has popped. I'm sure he'll make a full recovery. Mercurio tells us we need to blow up a local warehouse for the prince, and the only way in is with a man named Bertram Tongue. Unfortunately, Bertram is hiding out because of a feud with the local power player, Therese Vorman, so we have to get her to call off their beef if we want to move forward. She runs a club nearby called the Asylum. Once inside, we meet local Minx, video game mascot, and Therese's sister, Jeanette. Look, she's literally on the box. We go to meet Therese upstairs in her office, where she tells us that she'll call off the feud if we exorcise a ghost from her rundown hotel. Around here, that I get the feeling that most of this game will be doing favors for a favor for favors. Vampire politics, man, everybody wants a taste. The hotel is locked until we find a key inside the construction office, and it's then that the temporary structure is attacked by heavy equipment outside. The first of many happenings in the Ocean View Haunted Hotel 2004. Inside, the hotel is falling apart, chandeliers fall from the ceiling, and the stairs collapse, stranding us in the unclean basement. We activate the power to turn on the elevator, and the hot water tanks begin shooting overpressurized rivets at us like a middle-aged drunk snaps bottle caps at unsuspecting women. We ride the elevator, and a spooky ghost woman points out the way to proceed. When this game came out, it was famously made using the Source engine, the same Source engine used to make Half-Life 2, but they made the game before Half-Life 2 released and were using a partially complete engine coupled with Troika's own tools to build the game, and of course one of the most baller parts of the Source engine is its physics programming, which you can see in full effect here as I am ruthlessly attacked by flying pots and pans. Truly groundbreaking in 2004. We ascend to the upper floors of the hotel, which have been totally burned out, and it's up here we are treated to a ghost flame light show and are transported back in time to an illusory version of the hotel. We find the all-important pendant and thus are free to leave. In this version of the game, I'm using the community patch, which recovers cut content, fixes a ton of bugs, and slightly alters some unfinished gameplay. I recall originally getting out of the upper floor was a giant pain in the ass because as a vampire, our greatest weakness is fire, and the upper floor would be set aflame as the ghost is enraged by our presence. However, in this version, we casually walk out, which is 10 out of 10, and I'd take it every time. We return to give the pendant back to Therese, but unfortunately, she's missing and Jeanette is here in her stead. She pouts a bit and asks nicely for the pendant, so I give it to her because I figure, hey, she's good for it, and then she asks me to slash up an art gallery like a normal person. I say yes and set out to make like 1989's Batman Joker gang featuring Jack Nicholson, but I'm stuck with one immovable object, Officer Chunk. I use my spooky vampire mind powers to tell him to leave and go dance at the club for a while, and he's happy to oblige. Inside, I play hide the knife in the canvas, and when done in a particular order, it unlocks a blood demon who we beat down, but also I wonder why we can't eat him with a straw. We fight him and he hits hard, but we are low on blood after spamming our spells earlier, and we go into frenzy mode to finish him off. It turns out that if you go too low on blood for too long, your character will unleash the beast inside of him like an early 2000s nu metal track. Taking a second look at these paintings, they tell the story of Cain, the first vampire who killed his brother Abel and was spurned by God, found Lilith, and then spurned Lilith. What a drama queen. Anyway, we return to Jeanette, except she's gone and Therese is there. And now she's mad as hell that I gave Jeanette the pendant, and also she's really mad that somebody just happened to slash up the paintings in her new art gallery. I tell her that's all a shame, really, and she says we can make up, but I just have to go to a diner across the street. On my way out, I get down with Chunk. This guy can really move for such a heavy-set man. He's like Jack Black before he killed Minecraft. I show up to the diner excited for our date, and it turns out that it was a plot to ambush me. Jeanette even calls to try to tell me the score after I'm attacked. I can't imagine why she would send such woefully inadequate gangbangers to take on me. I mean, I'm a creature of the night, and my red shirt even has neat little occult symbols all over it. We get a call from Jeanette, and she's locked in the bathroom fearing for her life, and Therese is trying to kill her. So we go back into the club, and once we get inside the office, surprise, Therese and Jeanette share the same body. It turns out they're a clan of crazy vampires called Malkavians, and from what I can tell, they were actually twins in real life, but after Therese killed their father, and they were separated, Therese was turned, and she brought Jeanette's personality with her as a way of coping with her childhood abuse at the hands of their monstrous father. After some encouragement, Jeanette takes the gun and fires it at herself, Fight Club style, and now Therese is gone. This reads like someone's junior high fanfic minus about 100 pages of smut in the middle. We set out to meet Bertram, who's hiding inside an oil tanker, and that's exactly where he should be. He's a Nosferatu, the ugly vampires who hide in the shadows and traffic in information, kind of like Steve Buscemi if he were a spy. He directs us to the first real mission area, a train-side warehouse. We sneak in by crawling along the rafters and plant the explosives, then haul ass before they go off. On our way out, we meet a furry who we saw earlier. He tells us his name is Beckett, and he's a vampire historian. He lore dumps us that Cain probably isn't real, or at least that's what most vampires think, and that all vampires are feeling an unshakable sense of dread recently, and then he leaves after he catches a whiff of nearby scat. With our task done, it's time to meet with the prince downtown. Along the way, we're ambushed by evil, mean vampires called the Sabbat, and then we're promptly saved by a handsome man named Nines Rodriguez. He might be the only vampire to actually still invest in proper skincare. He tells us not everything is as it seems, and we should come meet him later and make our way downtown. Prince Pisspants then tells us that we need to investigate a ship with a spooky sarcophagus aboard where everyone was killed, but we should go hang out with the dirt vampires first. So we go to the local dive bar, and I'm immediately reminded of this place that I used to go to in college. I was constantly terrified that used needles were going to fall from the light fixtures or that one of the unseemly bartenders would piss in a keg. I met a girl out back once who, after asking me for a cigarette, said she wanted to rip her own face off and stick it in a blender. Somehow, I managed to escape without catching hepatitis, and since I'm a vampire now, I no longer have such worries. Anyway, inside, we catch up with Jack and Mike Tyson and University Protester 853 and Nines. They let me know that nearby humans are catching a plague, and it's likely from a vampire who is spreading it intentionally. They task me with tracking them down. Oh, and Nines goes on about how LA doesn't need vampire aristocrats like the prince, and that you can't let the man get you down or whatever. I kind of stopped listening halfway through because I've heard this pitch in a dive bar before, and I'm sorry, bro. I don't want to join your militia in the Ozarks or whatever. I go to see my clan leader right after, and he tells me to check out the plagued humans as well, and I'm like, nice jacket, bro. And it's then that I realize that the length of someone's jacket denotes their power level, like how big and bright someone's hair is in Dragon Ball Z. I can't wait until I get a cool jacket. Anyway, it's down to the sewers when we find suspect number 1, and since he's not willing to take the Valtrex to manage his herpes outbreak, we put him down. After reporting back, it turns out there's more than one source of the outbreak, and the next target is in a swanky hotel called the Empire Estates. Inside, we sneak our way into the office for a key card, then take the elevator to the target's room. Inside is a surprisingly attractive woman. Turns out vampires don't really have sex much, they just like you, and they still can if they want to, and that's what she's up to. I smash her face in, and then discover that the real source behind all of this is a nearby crack den. We sneak inside, and there's zombies everywhere. Thankfully, I can't be turned into one, but they do bite especially hard. We make it to the end, and this guy is our first real boss fight. He's fast, uses a shotgun, and hits like a truck, but my secret to success is that every time I cast a blood strike, a bit of extra blood is returned to me, so even if I can't find any humans to feed on, I can just hide behind this wall and cast it over and over again. It's like I'm a tactical genius, or at least a proficient cheese maker. Anyway, now that the diseased lad is down, it's onto the ship and the sarcophagus. We head up the beach and find Mercurio. He's alive and fully healed. Apparently, he's something called a ghoul, and that means he's a human who's given vampire blood, which allows him to heal and stay forever young. The ultimate skin routine is simply never aging past 30, so props to him. The ship is swarming with cops, and we're told to leave them alive, unfortunately. So I set out on the boat Mercurio provided, and once we're aboard, we're accosted by an Officer Hines. He's waiting for a reporter to show up that he's been bribed to let aboard, and like a snake in the grass, I pounce upon his unsuspecting suspect activities. After Hines calls off the nearest guard, I make my way to the bridge and hack the computer like a hacker from 1995's film of the year, Hackers. The report says people here were slaughtered. Honestly, they really should invest in some actual security. We have to make our way to the deck where the sarcophagus is, and it's impressive to see this kind of force present during such a vicious crime. The LAPD really cares about securing rich people's ancient objects. We sneak close enough to catch a peek, and yep, it's definitely older than Warren Buffett's balls. It also looks like it was opened from within. We make our way off the ship and back to LaCroix. And that is the best horror RPG of 2004. From feeding on passers-by, to dominating the police, to shooting blood blasts at nerds, I'd say this experience hasn't been improved since, but if you disagree, let me know in the comments, and of course, subscribe to help me afford a new video card. Thanks so much for watching.